Well, now it's time to finish up these shop drawings and send them off to our customer. We got a little bit more work to do, so let's go ahead and open up that project and get right into it. It's now into elevation B. Now, because we updated the depth on those upper cabinets, I do want to double check to make sure that our door isn't going to interfere with that adjacent cabinet. Okay, so we don't have an issue with the door, but we don't have a corner filler anymore either. I might have accidentally overwritten that one when I was messing around with it earlier. Okay, so back into the prompts, let's take a look at that blind corner width. All right, so another example of what not to do. So here we have a static value again. This was something that I did in a previous video where I was just trying to get that corner width working and I stomped on the formula that was in here. And rather than just putting a Band-Aid on it and continuing to put the static value there, it would be better off if we found that formula. We can right click and show the formula and just put it back in that way. But first we got to either bring in a new product from our library. That would be one way to do it. Or under Toolbox Setup, if you have access to the Database Explorer, this is a much faster way to get that. So we'll just go into the products, find the product that we're looking for, and I'm just going to open up the spreadsheet. This is a base cabinet, and there's our base blind corner. So just double click on that product, and now we can see our local workbook with the prompts. Shortcut, type in B, get me blind corner width, and just do a Control-C to copy that entire cell. So there's our formula. Close out of Database Explorer. We don't need to save anything. And get back into that product. Now, because we copied the cell, I'm not going to do it the way that I showed by going in and show formula. We're going to have to go through Edit Design Data. Just select that product, and now into the Prompts tab, find that blind corner width prompt. And there's that static value, and just paste that new cell, that new formula right in there. Save, close, and redraw. And we don't need to do a plan view because it doesn't actually show the door or that filler. So that looks a lot better. See what I mean here? Go back to the plan view. See how we're only showing the box. Anyway, that's good. Okay, so now to our 2D elevation. We got that blind corner width dimension updated. So yeah, everything's looking a lot better there. All right, now we can dig into this base blind corner cabinet. So we got to make 2 equal doors. So I'm just going to pull a distance just to double check what we have for a difference here. Okay, so 21 and 13/16. And this door, 13 and a 16th. What is that? 8 3/4. And then divide that by 2. 4 3/8. Okay, so that's what we're going to add to this one door, and we're going to subtract from the blind corner. All right, what did I say? 4 3/8. All right, so 17 5/8. And redraw that plan view. Take off 4 3/8 on this one, so 42 5/8. All right, now I got to go move the actual product themselves, not just this drawing, but let me double check our door before we do that. 17 7/16. It's good. Good. All right, cool. Now into the actual products. Let's go under Modify, and we're going to bump that one door base cabinet into the blind corner. So bumping the one door base into the blind corner. So now for this tall cabinet, and turning on the glass insert for those upper doors. Fastest way to do this is going to be going over to our actual products again, change our view, and we're going to go directly into the subassembly prompts. So under the Modify tab, Modify Subassemblies, Show Subassembly Prompts. Now if this one isn't already added to your tool strip, I suggest adding it. It'll save you a lot of time. So selecting directly on the door, we get asked if we want to go into the nested subassembly or into the parent. So the parent is the actual component doors, so the 2 doors themselves. We can take a look at that and see if we have our glass door option in there. So under door type, it's just MV door. It doesn't look like that's going to be the one that we want. Let's do that again. This time we're going to go into the nested. And there we go. There's our glass door. Now we're just going to save everything back to the current row. We're going to have to do this to both of the doors on this cabinet. Subassembly prompts again. Now into the right door and check that box, glass door. Now the last part of this video, we're going to get into our sheets and make sure everything looks good there. So let's start off with our SHO1. Take a look at our plan view. All right, so the depth of the uppers changed. That looks good. Let's see here, we have a dimension that looks a little bit too small. Activate that viewport and get into model space. And so the reason for that dimension still showing up is because of this selection here. Show annotation objects is set to always. So if that's turned off, you can see whatever's not under that current scale goes away. But I just want to add that to our current scale. So I'm going to make sure that's on. The viewport is locked, so I can zoom in here, select the dimension, and add current scale. And if there's anything else in here that we wanted to do that to, just repeat those steps. Take a look at our elevation drawings now. We're missing a few things, and that's again because of the annotative scale not being set to what our viewport is, which is 1/2 inch. Now before we add the current scale, why don't we redraw the 2D walls so anything that's coming in from our library would update. We have the finished label options that need to change. They need to be in the right position. Okay, now anything that's not at that current scale we can select, or you can just window over everything. Not going to hurt if we add that current scale to step that already has it, right? So just add current scale. Now let's just activate the viewport for elevation B and also redraw that wall. So we're going to have to do the same thing here. We have that annotation object always set. Turn that off and you can see all that stuff that's missing. So turn that back on and add our current scale. Now I typically like to leave this off, so if there is anything that's at a scale that I don't want to see, it won't show up on our sheet. Now into the cross sections, let's take a look at this, see if we need to resize anything. Now this one, we are going to have to change the scale. Looks like we'll have to go back down to a 3/4. Resize that to 3/4. So you can see now if that annotative objects is always on, I type in RE, so that text inside of there is showing up. I only want it to show up in this viewport, so that's one of the reasons why I like to have that turned off. So obviously clean it up if you need to a little bit more, but for now I think we're good. We can get back into model space and move on to the next phase of this project. Now we're ready to send this off to our customer, wait for them to send it back to us, letting us know we got that green light and we can proceed with production. So thanks again for joining me on another lesson in learning about micro.